You're watching Pull Up the Podcast on Facebook and YouTube Live. If you're listening to the podcast, you're listening to Pull Up the Podcast. It's Monday. It's your girl Candy K. Lynn.
And your boy Shawtown Shaw.
And it's time to pull up. We're back. It's Monday. We're back. We've been gone for a while. Mr. Shaw dropped the ball. I'm blaming you. I don't know what happened, but we made it back.
Hey,
and I'm excited.
When you a man, you get used to taking the blame for everything. So I apologize, y'all, for making y'all wait. You know what I'm saying? We were officially back, though.
We're back, but I guess the wait was worth it because we returned week 8 of the NFL season. It is World Series time. The NBA is kicked off and Texas high school sports is trending big time in the news. So we've got so much to talk about today. And Mr. Shaw's favorite rapper / shoe designer / he's been trending the whole time we've been gone.
You know what the funniest thing is about that? Like when everybody was in, you know what I'm saying what they were saying, my first thought was, I've been out here from over 4 years. Like, so this nothing new.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that at the end. I just wanted to do it because I knew you were going to do something hysterical. But for 5 years, we've been podcasting, and he has literally been trending for 5 years. So today we're going to talk about some things that are a little bit more important. You pull up here for sports, news, and hip hop. We don't talk about people.
We just give you the facts.
Headlines and headlines only. Listen, disclaimer. Listen, we don't really care about your personal lives. We simply talk about the headlines. Our job is to be a journalist. And in being a journalist, sometimes we have opinions that are not favorable. We try to keep them politically correct. But ultimately, we're trained reporters and we're just doing our job. So with all that said, go ahead, Mr. Shaw.
And I tell jokes. I ain't really trying to offend nobody. I said it, you know what I'm saying? I meant it. I stay intent on what I said, but I ain't trying to be offensive, right? I ain't trying to say nothing that's really hurting your feelings, but I know if I said it, you felt it, so you knew it was true. But
and sometimes the truth hurts.
I tell jokes.
Yeah.
If you offended by the jokes I tell, I don't know what to tell you.
He tells jokes, I report stories. As you see, I went as SWV today, rocking my HBCU gear like they did in the 90s as a female rapper. Catch those bamboo earrings. Boom, 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 boom.
When is a bum? I'm just playing my lifestyle right now. Playing my lifestyle.
So we're gonna go ahead and get this in for a few minutes before I go back out and try to get some more kids some Halloween candy. Mr. Shaw, how about them Cowboys?
How about
them
Cowboy fans?
Like they get
the Cowboy fans after week 1. Reminded me why I didn't want to be a Cowboy fan because the fans so freaking fake. Like it was Cooper Rush. It took. Come on, go ahead, Kent. Go ahead, because I can't even.
No, you said it took literally. We're going into Cowboy conversation. Like
I can't do it, bro, because y'all was Cooper Rush. Like after Dak played one game, got his finger hurt. The Bucs played their best game of the season against Dallas. The Bucs have not played like that since they played Dallas. And y'all was mad at Dak after one game. I ain't never seen it. Joe Burrow probably threw like 5 picks in the first game. I ain't hear the Bengals fans crying. Like, it's outrageous how Cowboy fans expect excellence. You have to be perfect when you're a Cowboy. You're not even perfect in life. And you asking for somebody to be perfect on the football field. Do you know how hard it is to play quarterback in the NFL? You
know why we don't know? Because we've never been Cowboy quarterbacks. I agree. I agree.
Listen, you know how hard it is to play quarterback for a big high school in Texas? Like, come on. So don't miss us with the Dak. No. And then they turn on Cooper Rush. We want Dak back now. Yeah. Boy, I ain't never seen
But Cooper Rush didn't even do anything. He actually did his job. He did his job. Right. He is a backup quarterback. He is not a starter. And so in the time that Dak was away from the Cowboys due to the injury, Cooper Rush did his job. There's going to be turnovers in football. Name me a gunslinger that don't throw the football away.
Well, Cooper Rush can't.
He doesn't have the mobility.
Not the he don't have.
He doesn't. He's not a franchise quarterback.
If you look at the game, there was Cooper Rush threw the ball 20 plus times one time. Against the Rams, he threw the ball like 15 times. Like they realized what he couldn't do. So again, Cooper Rush is a backup, like you said, to be a
He's a
backup.
backup.
And you know, he not, you know what I'm saying? He played his role. But for the fans, stop overreacting. Do not overreact to the smallest of things. Like
But it's like, what are we overreacting at this point? You know, as you said, when you think about it, the Cowboys are 6-2. They were without their starter for what, 4 weeks? 4 weeks.
it's his second
So
week back.
yeah, so they're at week 8. So Dak was down for, he played the first game of the season, right? He came back last week in week 7.
Mm-hmm.
So Cooper Rush, the Cowboys have only picked up 2 losses the entire season. I think Cooper did his job. Right
He did a
now, the
great
Cowboys
job.
are figuring out, you know, putting Pollard in yesterday, which I think that everybody keys in on Zeke, gave them some opportunity to kind of play with the offense and see what else they have the ability to do if they utilize their backs properly. You know, beating up on the Bears 49-29, as you said, they're
I
doing
didn't
what
see
they
that.
need to do.
I know Tony Pollard got carries, but they backup got carries too.
Yes, let's see. So for rushing, Pollard was 14 carries, 131 yards. Malik Davis, 8 carries, 23 yards. Cavante Turnip, the
Kick return.
kickoff return,
Yeah.
1 carry for 11 yards, and CeeDee Lamb had a carry for 1 yard. So the
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys had a total of 200 rushing yards yesterday.
Yeah,
And that's minus Dak's 34 that he picked up.
well, with the Birds, we now know that they in a fire sale. They not trying to win. So I don't understand that. Like your season went bad. It wasn't like you were, but I guess they seen something in the draft. I guess they seen something in college football they like because they didn't give up on their season. So when you
You
trade your
think they've
stuff,
given up?
they traded away Corn Smith today. He a best defensive player. They traded Robert Quinn last week. And you didn't
Well,
trade none of this and get a receiver in return to like you got draft picks for players. So now you're not expecting to win because no, you're not telling me you expecting to win and you traded players away mid-season. Again, Raekwon Smith is your star.
Chicago going Chicago. Like we, like, you know, when we think about Chicago and amazing, like we think about the 85 Bears, like Chicago going Chicago. A lot of these teams, we talk about the ownership.
They
As you
fans
said,
travel too. They
you
were
say what?
thick. They were thick in Dallas. But say they was all in Levi's. Matter of fact, we had a couple of them come through. The dudes actually came back. The women did. You know, women ain't gonna come back after the way they talk, but the dudes came back. But nah, they in the rebuilding phase. I don't know what they in. It don't make sense. Because
Well,
you
most of these
above
teams don't.
500, like you in the division with the Vikings and the Packers, and the Packers ain't like, nobody listen to me. I told him you need to go to your backup. He don't want to play football no more. Nobody listen to me though.
But you know, I feel like
He beat Tom Brady. He don't care about the rest. I beat Tom. Got my leg back. He don't care about the season no more. He don't care about. I'm just being realistic with you. Like that man don't care about football. He's just collecting a check on
who
the
are you
Packers.
talking about? You talking about Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, he collecting a check.
Okay, so we can get to Aaron Rodgers next. Since we are Texans and we cover those Cowboys and those Texans, we must talk about the Houston Texans. 1-5-1, 1 tie, 1 win, 5 losses.
Damian Pierce, their best player.
I think that the Texans are getting everything they deserve.
I'm gonna hold my judgment, man, because you know you can't be asking to get out of places where people protecting you. You know what I'm saying? Like
I agree, but it's always, for me, it's always about how things are done, right?
they gonna move.
We're not.
Companies gonna move weird. No, companies gonna move according to how they feel, regardless, because they got the money. As a person, if you're not out here, you have a fetish at this point, right? You're a predator and you have a fetish from what it seems, right? From what it seems, right? You'd have missed 24 games. right? Because next week he can come back, if I'm not mistaken. It was
Yeah,
8
because
weeks,
it's week
right?
8. Uh-huh.
You missed 24 games. No, 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 no. 17. 17 weeks, 25 games. This will make 25 games, right? Because you would be playing tonight. That's why the Browns on TV. Because Deshaun was
Right.
supposed to be playing.
Right. And so we thought we were going to get a Deshaun. They thought when they were doing the schedule, they were going to get a Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow type situation.
But you made the schedule knowing he was a predator with fetishes. Not caring about that.
And for me, my issue with these organizations are don't play coy on the backside. Because, you know, down here in San Antonio, they just got rid of the young boy that's had the issues, right? Did you see that? Young boy, undoubtedly, like inappropriate.
Josh Primo.
Yes, like a first round pick, like number 12 pick. Listen, my thought process is exactly like San Antonio, right? We've seen enough of these situations that when we can verify that you have quite a bit of an involvement in some of these situations, isn't it easier to cut ties early? Isn't it easier? So I feel like
his issue was.
Well, it was weird related as well. Like a lot of these guys got weird guy situations taking place, like women of inappropriateness. So I feel like with the same thing with Deshaun Watson, like how did he become the big dog in that situation where he was able to say he wanted out? Then you threw this information out like you weren't guilty. That's my issue.
You was hiding.
With the organization. Well, you were helping.
Both of y'all was wrong.
You were assisting. So as we're suing him,
you the plug,
are we suing the Texans? Exactly.
You the plug, and you the plug, and he the main man that work for you, and he like, well, I don't want to do business with you. You know what I'm saying? That's
and so what happens when he gets
arrested?
When he gets arrested and goes down, then they look for his cooperation so they can get the big dogs. And so that's all that I'm saying when we're having these conversations about these organizations. Like I think everybody wants to throw stuff out here and hide their hands. And that's the same thing that's going on across the entire NFL with them telling the Redskins, like, hey, I'm sorry, the Commanders, you need to sell. And he's like, listen, keep coming for me. I will take.
Tell me today, don't dare call them. She said she was born and lived in DC her whole life. Don't dare disrespect her and call them the Commanders. Stop me dead in my tracks. And
that's what. That professionally, so we don't get flagged. Like that's what they are.
I'm gonna just call them Washington. I'm just call them Washington. I'm gonna call them the Maroon team.
He's basically like the owner's like basically if you come for me, like the NFL has turned into a full-time daytime soap opera. Like I will burn this.
It turned,
huh?
I don't know. It's been like that.
But I'm just saying, it's like a live. It's like on Broadway now.
But it was worse in the 80s.
We didn't get the news as fast.
But it was worse than the 80s.
We didn't get the news as fast. Like, but with ownership,
Al
right?
Davis was you know, it was worse in the 80s.
Right, but a lot of stuff was quiet. So
just think about it. Was it Dan Marino? I think Dan Marino. There was a quarterback that they made sure the Raiders didn't get. And I'm almost sure it was Dan Marino.
Right. They did that all the time. The same thing happened with Eli Manning. His daddy was like, absolutely not. So there's always been undercut moves. But when
did all the negotiating. He said that was Payton.
When the owner is telling the rest of the owners, if you attempt to force me to sell, I will burn this down to the ground. We know it goes on. And that's all that I'm saying about the Texans. Like, don't try to throw the players under the bus when you're all a part of the scheme.
But look, with Dan Snyder, let's be honest, bro. What you gonna burn to the ground?
I mean, he says he got dirt on Jerry. You just talked about the Raiders.
I know he got dirt, but
there is dirt. They got each other's dirt. They hang out together.
You got dirt on all other 32 teams, right? 32 teams, 31. So 31 teams, right? Mm-hmm. You got all dirt on 31 teams. So the same dirt you got on them, they got on you.
But you're looking at forcing him to sell. So what he's basically telling you is if I got to sell, some of y'all gonna have to sell too.
They're gonna have to sell the whole league then. Like
They'll
that,
burn it down.
that it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. It make too much
You know
money.
why? You know why? Because they're gonna back off of him and he's not gonna have to sell, which
Possibly.
means racist behavior can continue to happen, misogynistic behavior can continue to happen, and that's what's happening in these organizations because you're gonna back up off of him because Jerry Jones doesn't want his secrets told.
Or lose, or he don't make money regardless. He don't need
Indianapolis
to make his money.
owner, wasn't he arrested for a DWI?
Jim Irsay?
Uh-huh.
So Jerry the only one that Jerry the only I know all of them make their own money. I know Robert Kraft. I know everybody get their own.
Wasn't he busted hanging out in Florida in the massage parlors where people were detained?
I just know the NFL shutting down would hurt too. I don't know about all of the owners got money, right? So this is not their only hustle. This might be one of their biggest hustles, but I see them working something out. I see them working something out because it's just too much money to lose for them not to work it out. You know what I'm saying? Like I
say that to say, if you're gonna hold the players to a standard, at some point the coaches and the owners got to be held to the same standard.
Nah, that's too much like right.
You know, so
that's too much like right.
And that's why it is what it is.
The slaves got to do what we told, and we get to rape their women in the middle of the night. And there's no change. I think my biggest problem with everybody in society, they want to make there's no change. The hierarchy of how slavery looks now is just different. You go to a 9 to 5 every day because if you don't, you can't pay bills. If you don't, you can't live. Right?
And it's the way people want to create the idea. And like I said, for me, it's just I think that we give certain people in this country way too much power, and money gives you power, even though, you know, from a history perspective, when you're teaching history, the founding fathers, we were supposed to be limiting the power, and it seems that the power is continuing to increase. So with these owners and these teams, sometimes I'm like, yeah, you get what you get, and it is what it is.
You told me last week, you said you were talking about the Mayflower. I guarantee you was some black people on that Mayflower. I guarantee they've been stealing us since beginning of time, especially a liar and cheater like that.
Well, you know, we know people steal. We're gonna wait till Black History Month to talk about that. You talked about Cleveland and Cincinnati being on prime time tonight.
No, I ain't say that. I ain't say. No, I just told you that.
No, you told me why, and that's why I said I'm going back to it to let the fans know.
Well, he cut the Thursday night game off.
Yeah, 7:15 kickoff time. Cincinnati, Cleveland. Cincinnati's 4-3. Cleveland's 2-5. I just feel like
I using cameras from PV back in '93. I don't like it.
On Thursday Night Football?
Yeah, I don't like it.
I'm not saying
in '93 because PV right now, I know their cameras up to date. Because I was there about 4 years ago, 7. So I know that it came up. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of Thursday Night Football. I'm not a fan of the logo. It's, hey, hire me if you need some ideas and suggestions. I'm full of those. I think that the team that they're assembling to have the conversations, I think that's the best part of Thursday Night Football. But I have not watched a complete game yet because I'm just not interested.
Russell Wilson been playing.
Yeah.
Look, I be so right about stuff. Oh, I be so right. Oh
God, are we about to blame Sierra again?
Who else? He don't know how to play football no more.
Oh God. Maybe it's him. Maybe he's old. Maybe it's his body. Maybe it's his offensive line. Maybe I'm not sure why he went to Denver to get paid, but I didn't think they were going to win. Did you think they were going to be a Super Bowl contender?
A defense A1.
So, but the offense is struggling.
Quarterback. Because you got the weapons, you got the targets.
Very possible. Very possible. But
and being stressed at home.
Okay. Well, most of us are stressed at home. At home, at work, we're all experiencing some level of stress. But moving on to baseball. This is the only time of year we really talk baseball because it is the World Series time. Right now, we talk to our people down in Houston. I was in Houston Friday night, and the Phillies got a win, and the Astros just couldn't do it. But Saturday, the Astros made sure they were tied 1-1 before they went back to Philly. Tonight was supposed to be game 3 in Philly, and the rain said no. So that series is postponed until tomorrow. Mr. Shaw, what do the Stros need to do differently to bring this thing home? They got three
I
games
can't
on the
say I
road.
can't answer that. I can't answer that because Mr. October on the other side. So I can't say what the Stros. They need to make sure Mr. October don't get popping. That's what they need to do. That's what who pitching tomorrow. My fault. Lance McCullers. You make sure Mr. October don't get his stick on that ball. Okay. Bryce Harper. If Mr. October get his stick on that ball, you got a problem. That's the only advice I got for you. Because once Mr. October get going, because that's what he is. He been that out. Hey, he popping. All right. Who was that? It was they won one game. They beat the Blake Snell. You play for the San Diego Padres.
Uh-huh.
1 run, home run. Mr. October, yeah, keep him off the base. As long as he not popping, you good. Because the moment his bat touch ball, the rest of his team gain confidence. So what
So
you need to do? Keep
you
Mr.
think that's
October
their
off the field.
so that game went 10 innings. The first game one went 10 innings down in Houston. And it was due to some let me see the best way to explain it. Houston put up 2 runs in the second inning, 3 in the third. Philly came back and scored 3 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth. And then
You
they
gotta
scored
tell
that
me I
final
had
run in
both
the
the pitchers. I had Justin Verlander and I had Aaron Nola with they fantasy points, and they got touched up quick. All right.
But here's the thing, right? Isn't that what we want them to do in baseball? We want to see the bats come alive.
No, when I got fantasy points on the pitchers, I want to see Justin Verlander throw 6 strikes and get to inning 6 without giving up 3 to 4 runs. No, but again, baseball is baseball, and you don't know what's gonna happen. But for if and I say this again, if the Astros want to win, they better keep Bryce Harper off the field. Right, and I'm not saying don't pitch to him. You know what I'm saying? He had 4 bats, 1K the other day. You know what I'm saying? Keep him off the field, because if he gets on the field, he can bring energy to the team, right? And you know what? He got paid his $300 million, and he's living up to it. Oh, if you missed October 1 year, you lived up to your $300 million. He carrying it. He
So
is
he was over
carrying it.
4. Yeah, he was over 4 yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He's hitting 250. Game 1, let's see, he was 2 for 4, hitting 500. So I just think it's a combination of things. I think if the bats get to rocking, and that's the only reason why, truthfully, I want to see baseball at this point during the World Series. I need to see that great catch that was made in right field, that the Phillies made with Altuve on second, with the Astros in scoring position with an opportunity to go ahead and wrap things up in game 1. Like, it's the excitement for me. So I would like to see Bryce Harper, for the kind of money that they're paying, get to rocking. And I want to see Houston match it on the other side. Baseball at this point, in order for people to stay interested and the numbers and the views to stay up, they got to hit the baseball. They've got to make great plays on offense, and they've got to make hell of a play on defense.
But you said it, 8 scoreless innings and the pitcher's pitching is that, man. That's baseball.
It is.
Baseball,
It is.
like,
but does it make a non-baseball watcher glued? Right. So we love to have.
if you signing up for baseball for home runs and like, I'm not saying great plays made in the field. You talking about the catches, the Ken Griffey, like, you can get that. That's a part of a scoreless inning. You going up to get that to keep. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh Lord, it's bells.
So, for me, for I don't think, if you're not a baseball watcher, there's nothing that's gonna get you
7 o'clock.
in tune to watching baseball. Even the home run's not gonna get you there. It's not.
But
The home
I
run's
think
not gonna happen all the time.
the great plays make a difference. Like,
Sure.
they really, because I was locked in. I was locked in eighth because after I talked to you, that's when I even realized the baseball game was on because I was in route and you were talking about your fantasy points and I was like, oh, the World Series is on, so of course I turned the game on. But
Mm-hmm.
then when I turned the game on, I'm like, oh, it's locked and loaded. And they got to the bottom of the eighth, and I'm like, okay, what's up? 6-5 when they're scoring runs. Yes, you would like for a pitcher to have a no-hitter, go 6 innings untouched. That's a piece of the game. But for people who need the excitement, we've got to have the bat swinging. And that's the part of baseball that took me away. It's great to have these amazing pitchers and these no-hitters and these shutouts, or the reliever gets the save, but it's even better to see the bats rock. It's
Like that.
even better to watch Altuve cut his bat just short enough to hit the hole in the seam between center and left to get on base, to hit the single, to have a great throw down the second where he barely avoided the tag and he's safe. Those are the things that I remember from the game. I don't remember every game that Nolan threw a shutout. I remember when Nolan whooped Ventura's ass though. Like it's there's gotta be. It's not like, you see what I'm saying? There's gotta be those moments that become legendary that we remember forever. I was on a podcast interviewing Marcus, our cousin, and on their podcast they were celebrating 1 year. Just Noise podcast, shout out to them for always having me on as a guest, but they were celebrating their 1 year anniversary on their sports talk show, and that's what I asked them. And you could just hear them when I was like, what is your favorite sports moment of all time? And people can give it to you. That's what I need for baseball. Those moments that I can always remember Joe Carter going to get it off the wall when it was the Toronto Blue Jays.
I agree.
So, but enough of that. So the Phillies and the Astros. I feel like it's a National League championship because when I was a baseball fan, the Astros were in the National League and so were the Phillies. But we will see what happens. We also need to get baseball back because there are no American-born African Americans playing in this World Series, and that's the first time that has happened in years. So that's also something else to look forward to watching baseball. Really quick, I got to shout out the Southwestern Athletic Conference, who is SWAC. Just to let everybody know who's watching and you didn't know because you heard Dion say it. Prairie View A&M University is SWAC. We are an original member of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Everybody else has just joined. But Deion Sanders, his conversations, his controversy, whether you hate him or you love him, he was able to bring College Game Day down to Jackson State, to the Jackson State Southern game, and that's big whether you know it or not.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal. So shout out Deion Sanders and Jackson State. Prairie View A&M University is number one on our side. We need you to go ahead and win out so that you can see Jackson in the SWAC championship for year 2. Let's do it. Mr. Shaw. So there are some people that we're not fond of that grew up in towns over from us. And when I say a town, if you're listening across the world as you're rejoining Pull Up the Podcast, towns are towns. They're little. They're like literally you walk outside and you look around the corner and you're in the next town.
Mm-hmm.
And the next town for us, they're very arrogant. They have a sign up in the city that says what, Mr. Shaw? What does the sign say?
City of Champions.
City of Champions. Yes, Duncanville, Texas. We are talking about you. We grew up next door to you, and we had to listen to that for years because we had no championships. None. So if you've been following high school basketball in the state of Texas or football, Duncanville, Texas is one of the powerhouse teams in that 6A District of Doom with Cedar Hill, Duncanville, and DeSoto. Duncanville has been to the state championship in football the last 3 years. The boys basketball team is state and national champions. And the women's team, whether people know it or not, they are 11 times state champs. RIP Tiffany Jackson, legendary Duncanville Lady Pantherette, who passed away a few weeks ago of cancer. Okay. And if you don't know where Duncanville is, if you follow women's basketball, Mr. Shaw, who is the legend out of Duncanville in women's basketball?
Tamika Catchings.
Tamika Catchings is out of Duncanville, Texas. They're in trouble for recruiting. So I
Ain't she
led
from
to that
Chicago?
with no implications.
Ain't she from Chicago? Ain't Tamika Catchings from Chicago?
Yeah. So
I've been cheating.
Duncanville is in trouble, women and men's basketball team, for recruiting. And the sad part about it all, Anthony Black is the young man that was at the center of conversation, who is now a freshman down at the University of Arkansas. He is just getting started in his freshman basketball season with so much promise and potential. But now this situation in Duncanville has been brought to the light again because it never went away, where the UIL, University Interscholastic League here in Texas, ruled that Anthony Black was ineligible and was playing during the time that Duncanville won that last state championship in 2022. And so they have vacated the state title, handing the title over to McKinney. Yes, we get our two laughs at Duncanville, but from adults, Mr. Shaw.
Do you think McKinney cares?
Do you think McKinney cares? Does removing Duncanville from the books in Texas change the fact that Duncanville won the state title? And do those players, are they at home celebrating saying, we are the champions of the world? They're not, because they lost, and they know they lost.
They cried already about that.
They've already cried. They're over it. They've moved on with their next stages of their lives.
I had no choice.
So what does vacating a title really mean? Like, when we think about it from a sports perspective, we think about Reggie Bush's Heisman was vacated and it was given to Vince Young. Do we think we're ever going to see Vince Young walking around with the replacement Heisman? Who wants to be? Yeah, like I was given the Heisman because you took it from Reggie Bush, dude. And that's what I feel like with this state title. Duncanville will always, back-to-back champions. That title run is that title run. I'm not ignoring the violation, but ultimately, when we allow these things to go on, and because the laws are the way they are, that we continue to fight these battles in court, who do you ultimately hurt? Because now here's a program where these kids that are in their senior year, they're not getting a title run this year. Their head coach is suspended for the rest of the season. The women's team and the men's team's head coaches are suspended for the rest of the year.
It's sad for the kids because they don't have nothing to do with what the adults were doing. But as far as the coaches, I mean, when you doing illegal stuff, there's a possibility that you will get caught. Feel bad for the kids, but you know how people operate. And if you're gonna do what you do, you gotta move smarter. So I have absolutely zero pity for either coach, man or female coach. Both of y'all was recruiting. Y'all probably was having these conversations together where y'all went and got these players together. And so were the girls also ineligible? That's why their title was stripped.
They've had recruiting issues before. So they're not only is Duncanville didn't win the title last year, but they can't even play in the playoffs.
The DeSoto one, they had like 9 go division. Yeah. They had 9 division scholarships, right?
Yeah, Division I girls. So there was no question that Duncanville wasn't winning the state.
DeSoto, the Eagles, DeSoto, you.
Yeah, there was no question that DeSoto was winning the state championship last year. But Duncanville women have been in trouble in the last 2 years for similar things. So the recruiting conversation is, hey, if you live in if you live in Southwest Dallas County and your kids live in Cedar Hill, it's time to go ahead and send them to their home school. Duncanville, and now is the time, parents, to send your kids to their home school because you're on the radar. Now, we grew up in that Metroplex area. Do I think Duncanville just started recruiting?
I don't think they did it when I was in high school. They were sorry. I feel like they tried to go the straight route when I was in high school.
Yeah, but Duncanville's girls basketball is one of the best programs in the country. One of the best programs in the country. They've had some down years, but in my mind, this ain't the first time. And so I would just tell parents of high school athletes, be mindful of the rules. Your kids cannot move for athletic purposes and be eligible within year 1.
You gotta say y'all move because you got a new house.
or you move because, well, I'm not going to even go there. But, you know, high school coaches do not sign transfers all the time. I know personally, high school coaches will not try to sign transfers if they feel like you move for athletic purposes. Even if you're
Mm-hmm.
not the starter on their team, some coaches are just pure.
Boy,
I'll bypass. I'm learning how to say nice words.
this
But
society is done for. Why this man dress up as Ice Spice?
well, people dress up for all kinds of things. It's Halloween. It's all about the creepy. But, you know, I just like I said, Duncanville is on the map right now. Mrs. There's a lot of weird stuff. Don't show me. I am trying to work on using nice words, right? I try to be a model for my students, and so I want to use nice words, and I try not to talk about people.
Look,
So
I
I
just
just don't want
wanted you. I want you to make sure you didn't think I was just being dramatic. I asked you, why did that man dress up as Ice Spice?
people do what they want to do.
Do
People have
what
the
they
right
want
to
to do.
do this.
Do what they
They have
want.
the right to do this. But Mrs. Shaw, listen, it is Halloween. I feel like my niece says it is time. Told you it is time to go trick or treat. That's what she said.
She wasn't her auntie.
I don't know if you made out her language or not. I don't. We speak in code talk. We speak our own language. So she said, "Hurry up." So this is your girl Candy K. Lynn.
And it is your boy Shout Town Shout. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe and share. And don't be afraid to share our stuff, okay?
You're watching and listening to Pull Up the Podcast. Everywhere you get your podcast and on Facebook Live and YouTube every Monday. We don't know the date, we don't know the time, but we'll pull up. Until next week,
Pull up.
we out.